Have you ever felt like the legal system is just a maze? Like it's designed to confuse you, especially right here in Texas. Maybe you've heard stories, or maybe you've been in situations where the rules just didn't seem to make sense at all.
Right. It can feel that way.
Imagine you or someone you care about is facing a charge, or maybe you're just trying to figure out, what can actually get you into trouble.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into thinking, well, if the police stop me, they already decided I'm guilty.
That's a common feeling.
Or, hey, if my case gets dropped, it just vanishes. Like it never happened.
Another big misunderstanding.
Exactly. A huge misbelief is that just getting arrested means you are guilty. Or that the law is just way too complicated for regular folks to ever figure out.
Yeah, it seems intimidating.
So how does Texas actually decide what is and isn't a crime? What does innocent until proven guilty really mean for you day to day?
Good questions.
And what happens when someone's looking at like more than one charge at the same time?
We can cover that.
By the end of this conversation, you are going to know exactly what the fundamental rules of the Texas Penal Code are. This is going to set you up to move smarter, with way more clarity and real confidence.
Let's do it.
We're going to walk through the very first parts of the Texas Penal Code today. Think of these as the core rules, the foundation for criminal justice in our state.
Like the foundation of a house, yeah.
Exactly. You got to understand the foundation to know how the whole thing stands up, right? And this isn't about, memorizing some thick, dusty law book. Nope. This is about giving you the plain truth, delivered with care so you can stand firm.
Absolutely. And when we say penal code, it's not some secret document. It's just Texas's official book of criminal laws. That's it.
Okay.
It was actually put into law back in 1973, and it officially started January 1st, 1974. Now, it's been updated over the years, obviously, but the main idea, the core purpose, that's stayed the same.
Okay, so let's break that down then. Why do we even have these laws? I mean, it's easy to think it's just about punishment, right? Locking people up.
Right, that's the surface level.
But you're saying the penal code has like deeper goals than just that. Can you help us unpack the real purpose behind these laws?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Texas Penal Code isn't just a list of don'ts. It's actually designed with some really specific, powerful objectives in mind. Understanding them can honestly change how you see the whole system. Okay. First off, and maybe the most important thing, its goal is to protect all of us, make our community safer.
Right, public safety.
Exactly. It does that by saying what's harmful, punishing those actions, sure, but also sometimes helping people turn things around. It speaks to accountability, yes, but also that chance for, restoration.
Accountability and restoration.
Okay. Second, the law really tries to be fair. It makes sure everyone knows or can know exactly what's considered against the law.
No surprise crimes.
No surprise crimes. That's a great way to put it. If an action isn't clearly written down as a crime in the code, then, well, it's not a crime you can be charged with. Period. Wow. That's a fundamental principle. It protects all of us from just random accusations. It's about clear notice, making sure you can understand what's expected.
So if it's not in the book, it's not a crime. That's powerful. What else? What else are these laws trying to do?
Well, third, the code aims for punishments that actually fit the crime. It's not supposed to be random. It's about being proportional.
Proportional, meaning?
Meaning the punishment should kind of match how serious the offense was, but it also looks at the bigger picture. Like, can someone learn from this? Can they return to society and be productive?
Okay.
That ties right back into that idea of second chances, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And helping people on their journey toward redemption.
It does.
Fourth, and this is crucial, a major goal is protecting innocent people, preventing wrongful convictions. The system is supposed to have safeguards, stop someone who didn't do it from being punished. And finally, the Penal Code gives a clear roadmap for police, prosecutors, judges. This guidance helps make sure everyone in the system is treated fairly, consistently. It prevents arbitrary or biased treatment. It's really about building a system of actual justice based on clear rules we can all understand.
That makes a lot more sense. It's not just rules, it's about purpose, protection.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about where these Texas laws apply. You mentioned territorial jurisdiction. How does Texas decide if its laws are the ones that count?
Yeah, it sounds complicated, but it's usually pretty straightforward. If you do something wrong inside the borders of Texas, Texas law applies. Simple as that.
Good.
But it can get a little broader. Let's say you start planning something illegal outside of Texas, but the plan is meant to cause harm or lead to a crime inside Texas.
Ah, okay. Like a conspiracy or something.
Exactly. Texas law can still reach you then. Think about it like if someone in another state plans with others to commit a big theft or fraud right here in Houston or Dallas.
They can still be charged here.
They can still face charges under Texas law, absolutely. Or take a really serious case, like a homicide. If a victim's body is found in Texas, the law actually presumes the death happened here.
Wow. Why?
It ensures Texas can step in and pursue justice for its residents, you know? It shows how serious the state is about justice within its borders. And this applies to our airspace, our waterways, too.
So Texas really does step up for its people. That's good to know. Now, you mentioned words meaning specific things in law. Why is knowing the exact legal definition so important?
Oh, this is absolutely critical. Section 1.07 of the code is all about definitions. And words we use every single day, like act, actor, bodily injury, even deadly weapon, they have very precise legal meanings in Texas law.
Different from just talking on the street.
Totally different sometimes. What these words mean in casual chat might be completely off from how they're defined in a courtroom.
But why does that matter so much?
Because knowing these definitions equips you. It helps you understand exactly how an action is being described and interpreted in court. For example, what seems like just a minor scrape, legally, if it causes pain, it could be bodily injury.
Huh.
Understanding those details can make a huge difference in how a case is seen, how it's argued, and how it ends up. It really empowers you to see the law like it's intended to be seen.
That's a game changer. Everyday words with legal weight. And there's also something called preemption in section 1.08. What's that about?
Preemption is basically about keeping things consistent. It means if a state law, like a rule in the Penal Code, already covers a certain criminal act, then local laws like city rules usually can't make their own conflicting rules about that same thing.
Okay, so the state law usually wins.
Generally, yes. It's designed to make sure the rules don't just wildly change from one town to the next. It gives us a consistent standard of justice across Texas.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's get into what is maybe the absolute bedrock of your rights in this whole system. The thing that really levels the playing field. Innocent until proven guilty. Section 2.01. This isn't just some nice phrase, is it? How does this really work in a Texas legal fight?
Oh, it's way more than just a phrase. It's a powerful shield. Seriously. This principle means that you, the person accused, you are presumed innocent. Full stop.
Presumed.
Yes. It is absolutely not your job to prove you didn't do something.
No.
The burden, all of it, is on the state, the prosecution. They have to prove you did it.
Okay.
And not just generally prove it. They have to prove every single part of the accusation, every element, and they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. We hear that phrase a lot.
And it's a very high standard. Think about it. The state can't just throw a bunch of stuff out there and hope something sticks. They have to carefully, methodically prove each element of the alleged crime past that high bar. If they can't, the case should fall apart.
So just being arrested or charged?
Does not mean you're guilty, not at all. It just means the legal process is starting and the state has a really tough job ahead to meet that beyond a reasonable doubt standard.
Okay, so the pressure's on them. That's a huge protection. Now, connected to this, we hear about exceptions and defenses. How are those different? Why does that difference matter?
Yeah, this distinction is really important for your legal strategy. An exception is something written right into the law itself. The code might say, it's an exception to this rule if something specific happens.
Okay.
If there's an exception like that, the prosecution must prove it doesn't apply to you. It's their job to close that loophole for their case.
So they have to disprove the exception.
Exactly. Now, a defense is different. That's your side of the story, something you bring forward. The law might say it is a defense to prosecution if.
Like self-defense.
Perfect example. If you raise a defense, like self-defense, you present evidence to back it up. Once you do that, the jury then has to think, does this defense create any reasonable doubt about guilt, even a little bit?
And if it does?
If it does, you should be acquitted. It empowers you to bring your truth forward and really challenge the state's story.
That clears things up a lot. But then there's also an affirmative defense. Sounds a bit stronger, maybe? How does that work?
Yeah. Affirmative defenses are a bit different because the burden shifts slightly. You actually have to prove your claim.
Oh, okay. So I have to prove it.
Yes, but not beyond a reasonable doubt. The standard is lower. It's usually preponderance of the evidence.
Preponderance. What does that mean, basically?
Think of it like tipping the scales, even just slightly. You have to show it's more likely than not that your defense is true, like maybe 51% likely.
Okay, more likely than not.
Right. So, for example, if you claim duress, someone forced you to commit the crime, you have to show evidence that makes it more likely than not that you really were under duress.
Got it. Crucial difference. Okay, one more thing in this section. Presumptions. Section 2.05, what's a presumption in law?
Good question. A presumption is when the law allows a jury to assume a certain fact is true if enough supporting evidence is presented for it.
Like with DWI.
Exactly. If someone's blood alcohol is over 0.08, the law presumes they were intoxicated. If the state shows that evidence, the jury can believe the person was intoxicated. But, and this is important, they don't have to. The state still has to prove the main parts of the DWI case beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay, so the jury can assume it, but doesn't have to.
Right. But here's the really powerful flip side, the shield for you. If a presumption actually favors you, the defendant.
Favors me? How?
Well, if the law sets up a presumption that helps your case, the jury must accept it as true unless the state can prove it wrong beyond a reasonable doubt.
Wow. So if it helps me, they have to believe it unless the state knocks it down with strong proof.
Precisely. It's a very strong protection. It can really defend your rights and make the prosecution's job even harder.
Man, understanding these rules makes such a difference. Okay, hold up. Before we go any further, let me put you on game real quick. This deep dive is powered by Legal Gangsta, where street smarts meet justice. If you've ever felt trapped by your past or just want to understand your rights in this Texas legal jungle, this is your plug. Whether you're fighting to clear your criminal record or learning how to protect yourself when the red and blue lights flash, Legal Gangsta teaches you how to move smart, think sharp, and walk free. Tap in at legal-gangsta.com. That's legal-gangesta.com. Let's get back to it.
All right, so we've covered individual charges, but what about when someone's accused of, multiple things?
Yeah, how does that work?
The law has rules for that too. It starts with understanding what's called a criminal episode. Section 3.01 of the Penal Code explains this. Basically, if you commit 2 or more offenses and they're connected.
Connected how?
Like they happened as part of the same event or the same overall plan. Or maybe they're repeated instances of the same type of crime or very similar crimes. If they're connected like that, they're all considered part of one criminal episode.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. Let's say someone breaks into a house, right? And during that one break-in, they steal several different things. That's one criminal episode. Or maybe someone commits the same type of theft, like shoplifting from the same store several times over a few weeks as part of an ongoing thing. That could also be grouped as one criminal episode.
Okay, I see. It groups related actions together.
Exactly. And that definition is important because it leads to how these charges can be handled together in court.
Right. Which brings us to why offenses often get tried together. What's the deal with consolidation and joinder in Section 3.02?
Precisely. When different offenses are all part of that same criminal episode, the law generally allows them to be tried together in just one trial.
Makes sense. More efficient, maybe.
It can be more efficient, yeah. But there are rules to protect you, too. If the state decides to combine charges that were initially filed separately into one big case, they have to give you at least 30 days' notice.
Why the notice?
To be fair, it makes sure you and your team have enough time to get ready to defend against all the combined charges at once. Gives you a fair shot to prepare.
Okay. And then sentencing. If someone's found guilty of multiple things from the same criminal episode, how does sentencing usually work? Section 3.03. Do they just stack up all the years?
Not usually, no. For crimes that are part of the same criminal episode, the standard rule, the default, is that sentences run concurrently.
Concurrently.
Mean at the same time. So let's say you get sentenced for 3 crimes from that one episode. Maybe 5 years for one, 3 for another, 2 for the third. If they run concurrently, you're basically serving the longest sentence of the 5 years, and the other shorter sentences are served during that same time.
So you don't add 5 plus 3 plus 2.
Correct. You serve the 5. This is a really key principle, leaning towards justice and restoration, giving people a clearer path forward instead of just piling on time indefinitely.
That's a big deal. Is it always concurrent, though?
There's a major exception. For certain, very specific, really serious felonies, often violent ones or sexual offenses, the law actually requires the sentences to run consecutively.
Consecutively meaning one after the other.
Exactly. One sentence finishes and the next one starts. So while concurrent is the general rule for a single criminal episode, for the most severe crimes, the law mandates that stacking of sentences.
Wow. Okay, that's a critical distinction. Huge impact on someone's future. Now, what if someone has multiple charges, but they're not really connected? They aren't part of the same episode. Can a judge split them up? What's severance in Section 3.04?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a vital protection for fairness. Even if offenses could technically be tried together, a judge has the power to order them to be tried separately. That's called severance.
And why would a judge do that?
To ensure a fair trial. The main reason is to prevent the jury from getting confused or, frankly, prejudiced by hearing about charges that are totally unrelated to each other.
Okay, give me an example.
All right. Let's say someone has a theft charge from, like, January, and then a completely separate, unrelated assault charge from something that happened in March. Different times, different places, different situations.
Right.
A judge might look at that and say, okay, trying these together could confuse the jury or make them think poorly of the defendant just because there are two different accusations. So the judge might order severance, two separate trials.
So the jury focuses just on the facts of one case at a time.
Exactly. It prevents unrelated stuff from clouding their judgment. It's all about making sure you get the clearest possible shot at justice for each separate accusation.
Man, we covered a lot today.
Oh.
We really walked through the very beginning of the Texas Penal Code.
Yeah.
And what we saw is that it's built on, clear rules, fairness, and that huge idea. You're presumed innocent until proven guilty.
That's right. We saw how the law actually defines crimes, how it sets out who has to prove what that burden of proof, and even how it handles multiple charges, trying to balance accountability with principles of justice. Understanding these foundations, it really is your power. It's your roadmap.
Remember, this system, it can seem complex. It can feel intimidating. But with this knowledge, you absolutely can navigate it with more confidence. This is about building that strong foundation for your future, always knowing that redemption, accountability, second chances, they are part of the fabric of seeking true justice.
And that really brings up an important question, doesn't it? For you, the listener. Now that you understand these foundational rules, these basics of the Texas Penal Code, how are you going to use this knowledge? How will you make sure your rights or the rights of someone you care about are truly protected here in Texas?
Don't let confusion or fear hold you back any longer. You absolutely have the right to understand these laws and to fight for your future. For all listeners listening right now, visit legal-gangsta.com. That's legal-gangsta.com. And specifically, for our listeners right here in Harris County, go to legal-gangsta.com right now. Get your 10-step Erase Your Criminal Record guide. Start that journey today. Get on the path to freedom and a clean record. This is all about equipping you, empowering you, and helping you walk in truth and real confidence.